Okay, so we'll call tonight's meeting to order. I'm Bob Carlson, the first selectman. We have Brett Mastriani, selectman. And we have also Selectwoman Nicole Porter and Director of Administration and Finance, Christine Dias. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Is there any public comment on non-agenda items? None. Perfect. We have minutes from our last meeting.
I will make a motion to approve the Town of North Stonington's Board of Selectmen meeting minutes held on October 10th, 2023 at 6:30 PM at the North Stonington Education Center and via Zoom as written.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approved. Any comments by either of the two selectmen? None?
Just huge kudos to Jen Strunk and everybody. I thought that the Frights and Lights was a huge success. There literally had to have been like 1,000 people at one point in downtown. It was really cool.
It was, and they're all right in front of Chinook Brewery. 800 of them were in front of Chinook Brewery.
We can thank her later.
Okay, first selectman comments. That's really correspondence. So I have correspondence from the Pawcatuck Neighborhood Center that I want to give you. Basically, it's just a year in review on what they've accomplished over the year. And that'll be good to keep during budget season. We'll probably have to refer back to it. And also, as you received, and I brought hard copies in case you don't have it, there was a letter sent to us by Brian Rathburn. And reading the letter at the very end, it says, ask if it could be read into the record. So I'd be more than happy to do that. Do you guys need a copy of that? You need a copy? Okay. Okay, from Brian Rathman to the three selectmen, to the Board of Selectmen. I write to you in regard to the Conservation Commission article in the Fall Quarterly stating the town-wide bike trail is being planned. I believe there is an enduro trail being considered as well as many trails for bicycles on our town roads. This raises questions and concerns of not only me, but many others. Number one, what does an enduro trail have to do with conservation? Number two, why would we advertise an enduro trail on our town roads? Many roads have dangerous curves, hills, and blind spots. There is a complex in Richmond, Rhode Island, the enduro enthusiasts. Number three, shouldn't the townspeople be notified and have their their opinions or comments to be considered before any trail or map is produced? Number four, does the Conservation Commission have jurisdiction over our roads and to use them as trails? Number five, shouldn't all bicyclists, include pedal bikes, be required to have numbered shirts that they are identifiable if a problem occurs? And that would be like a license plate, I believe. No, that's it. Number five. After that, these are just some of my concerns. Most people I talk to live here because of the peace, quiet, and tranquility that living in North Stonington gives them. I believe that the Conservation Commission was set up to protect not only our natural resources, forests, woodlands, and animals that live here, but to protect the peace, quiet, and tranquility of our residents. I feel the Conservation Commission is looking at our town as more of a playland than protecting our open spaces and lands in their natural state. I am asking the BOS to take a close look at any trails or recommendations by the Conservation Commission and get input from townspeople on such matters and possibly vote before any trails become a reality. It may be time for the town to examine why we wanted a Conservation Commission. Thank you for your time, Brian Rathburn. Please read this at the selectmen meeting so it will be on record. What has been read? Is there any comment on his letter? The only thing I would say is I can ask Bill Ricker, the chairman of the conservation, to come in and explain to us exactly what this rural trail entails. Is this a state trail? I know a lot of it happens in Patchogue Forest. How does the town involved? And just see what roads they'll be on, just so we have more clarity, if that's okay with you two. So I can ask him to come to a future meeting. Sean Murphy, you have something? Please go up there.
Yeah, I'm not sure what is enduro. Is that strictly bicycles? And is the Conservation Commission not a advisory committee to the Board of Selectmen?
Correct.
So they will do a proposal, obviously, and bring it to the selectmen to approve, or the town meeting to approve? Or what's the process?
I think they would come to the selectmen and give us a presentation on why they wanted to create a trail. I'm not sure if this is coming from the state and they just tagged on to it, or whether that's something they developed, but I can have Bill Ricker come and explain.
I'm not as concerned as Brian is, but it seems to me if they are indeed, some of it's off-road, some of it's on our town roads, that selectmen definitely need to get involved and maybe our traffic committee or whatever, see whether make sure it's reasonable to what they're proposing, where they're proposing, I don't know.
So they are advisory. I don't disagree with that at all. I think they did come to the selectmen. It might have been the last administration when they did the trails on Winterchalk Hill. So I think that is the path they take, is come to the selectmen, tell them this is a trail we want to do. I'm not so sure this didn't originate with the state, but I can have Bill come and explain it and get these questions answered.
Because I am concerned that in the past, some town land has been marked as conservation land, and trails were established without selectmen approval. I mean, they're not, and that town land is not deed restricted as conservation land. The example between Kingswood and the schools, tags went up on the trees, trails were suddenly marked, when this was all done, I believe, by strictly the Conservation Commission.
You know when that took place?
I think Mike might have been first selected. I don't know.
Okay.
It was after.
Okay, thank you. And so what we'll do is, go ahead, Nicole.
I would just, will defer to Bill as well, but I attended the Conservation Commission meeting months and months ago when this was first brought up, and it was my impression that this was a state project, that they had just asked our Conservation Commission to be able to distribute maps on where the trails were, that it is in no way, shape, or form a project of our Conservation Commission. It was literally just asking them to be able to distribute the maps. So I would like Bill to, I think he can clarify and help Brian feel a little bit better about the role the Conservation Commission had in the trails, because it was not my impression at all that they were creating them, that it was a state project.
I think you're right, but I think one of Brian's concerns is, can the state put vehicles on our roads without the town knowing about it? And I guess the town knows about it through the conservation, but there's never really been a presentation to the Board of Selectmen, so. Okay, so why don't we put that on a future meeting to have Bill come? I'll see when he's available. Okay, so that's it for first selectman correspondence. There's no Economic Development Commission. They've asked to be put off to another meeting. So we'll skip that, go to Recreation Commission pickleball request, and that's Heath, I believe.
Yep, so I'm Keith Dugas from the Rec Commission. Just wanted to brief kind of recap. Jim Holdridge, our commissioner, and I came before the Board of Selectmen on August 22nd. And our ask was we wanted to repurpose the basketball courts over here for pickleball use. And so the funds were already accounted for. We had ARPA funds dedicated to rec. What's changed since then is we determined, I think through the Armstrong and some other people recommended that, for safety's sake, it would make sense to have an 8-foot, perimeter around the courts so that you're not, so if we think about like, and I play volleyball, I don't play pickleball, but if you run from an uneven surface to an even surface or vice versa, there's a risk of injury, ankles, knees, etc. So in the interest of safety, our ask now, and whether we need to rescind our motion and do a new motion or just modify the existing, I'm not sure, I'll defer to the selectmen. But, our ask now is we want to, add a border of asphalt around, on the sidelines of the basketball. So it would be 8-foot wide perimeter on both of what we would consider the sidelines of the basketball.
Okay, so to keep things clean, I would say that, again, not so much the money, because if you have enough money to do this project, it's more of a change of what the project is. So you asked us to approve, and we did, taking the existing basketball court and put a new layer of asphalt on it, seal it, and then put lines on it. And now you're asking to rescind that, which we've approved, and go back with a new plan, which is to take the existing basketball court and put a perimeter around it to make it and I think that would give you 3 pickleball courts, correct?
Right. And the way it stands now, we could put 3 pickleball courts, but it would be a safety issue. So the number of courts stays the same, but just the court.
And is there enough money in your ARPA funding to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. So we approved $2,500 for the original plan. That's going to be, he wants to rescind that and go to another plan. So if you have any questions for Heath, ask him.
I don't have any questions. I don't know if we need to rescind it though, because they're not asking for the dollar values. We don't.
I'm not talking about dollars. I'm talking about the plan. They said we're going to use the existing court. We're talking about town property. We're using the existing court. We're going to put a new layer of asphalt on it and line it. Now they're asking to go 8 feet around the existing court. So it's really a different project.
Well,
And I think to keep it clean, because it's town property, and to have the transparency on what's happening is we should rescind the original ask, because that's not what they're doing, and amend it to this new ask. You can find all the statutes you want, but I'm just saying this sounds to me like the right thing to do.
well, I'm just saying the direct motion was to resurface basketball court for pickleball use.
Okay, and that's not what they're doing now.
Well, they're resurfacing and then adding. So, I mean, I guess it's half dozen of one.
Just saying it's a
But not-
different project. So again, it's not the money issue because they have the funds to cover it. But I think they're asking us to use additional town property to make the project a different project. So maybe we don't have to, but I think just so the public knows, if they go back and look at this meeting, what's happening. That's all.
And you're requesting the town highway department be able to do the actual labor of the work.
They would perform the services we would provide the asphalt. the additional services.
I walked the project with Tom Fabian, the Armstrongs, and Don Hill. And I don't know if Alan was there or not, but they're the ones that priced it out, and they know that they can do the labor and what it would cost for asphalt to get a project done. So
I'll make a motion to rescind the original request of just resurfacing the basketball court at 298 with a new project of resurfacing the basketball court and adding 4 feet on each side.
8 feet.
Isn't it 4 feet on each side? 8 on each side? Okay, 8 feet on each side.
On 2 sides. The 2 sidelines, the longer sides. If we want to, I don't know how specific we want to get, but we don't need it on the baseline sides. We only need it on the long side.
Okay.
So I'll second that. And then I just have a question for discussion.
Okay, so yeah, so we've got a precedent. Go ahead, discuss.
So just because I'm trying to picture it, so when I'm kind of in the cut through, the road cut through, you're talking about adding, if I'm looking at the big field, you're talking about adding the 8 feet on the right and the left-hand side if I'm standing in the road looking at it. So it actually doesn't encroach onto the road part, the cut through. You're just talking about 8 feet on either side.
So if you
Okay,
think about the way a basketball court runs, hoops run either side.
Yep.
It would be the non.
Gotcha.
that run longer. I have
Gotcha.
a picture of it.
And we'd have to remove the benches too, correct?
But you're gonna salvage those, right? Because they say wheeler on them
Yeah,
and lines and.
It'd be important to keep.
It's probably just move it back.
Yeah,
Keep
it's
it
nice to keep them right there if possible.
I know you have ARPA funds, but what is the total cost right now?
The original quote we got for pickleball courts, and I actually have et cetera, for 3 courts was 2,500. It looks like that was in uh, June. Let's see, in December of last year, and when we asked for a separate quote, I think there was some discussion around we needed separate quotes for filling the cracks and lining it separately. It looks like it went up slightly to be like $600 more, so to 3,100. And then we think the asphalt would be somewhere in the vicinity of 50, 12 to 50.
Okay.
So the whole project is somewhere between $5,000 and $6,000 probably.
Between 45 and 5, yeah. So
And this is utilizing your money,
our
none,
funds that we are,
no extra your request.
Yeah, we'll vote, of course, completely in favor. The only thing that I want everybody to realize, right, is the town has not decided exactly what is gonna be done with the entire area. But I think that we are probably a couple of years away from like final versions of that. And I don't see any reason why with ARPA funds that we shouldn't make this so that people can utilize it now. And hopefully it ends up staying and incorporated into the whole project
and,
of whatever
yeah,
we end up doing.
that did come up last night. I think we had the same similar discussion is that even if it's 2 years of
Yeah.
use, the things we're doing with ARPA funds today, not that they're not beneficial, but it's a one and done thing,
Yep.
right? It's like we have a skate park and 30 or 40 members weekly go, and we spend about a third of that money, and it's gone, right? There's nothing to show for it. So in our opinion, even if we get 2 years of use of pickleball, it's 2 years, it's money well spent.
Yeah.
Because Tom's got put together a high level course to figure out what a pickleball court would cost overall, and I think it's significantly higher than this
Yeah.
is a very small spend compared.
Now, originally you were gonna keep the basketball hoops up. Is that still the case? Okay.
There's no reason to take it down.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because I know people still utilize those in the village, so I'd hate to just take them
Yeah, I
down.
mean, they're serviceable, they work. They're serviceable.
Okay, any other discussion? So we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? It passes 3-0. Thank you, Heath.
Question, when do we see this moving forward? Are we gonna try to do it before asphalt plants close, or are we gonna wait?
I think they're gonna wait till the spring, but maybe Heath can tell us.
When are you looking to do, we trying to do it before asphalt places close, like the first, second week of December, or are we?
I would say
Wait
as
until
soon
spring.
as possible, at least on the prepping and asphalt, so that then we can hit the ground running next year, as soon as we can get the companies out. I understand we have the 3 quotes, we'll go through all that process, but I'd love to have everything prepped and ready to go, so we can get someone down there and get an up-to-date quote, and then we can hit the ground running in the spring. And people are ready to put it all, because my concern would be if we wait till spring to do the prep work and then the asphalt, it seems like it'll be midway through summer before people can actually use it. But my preference would be as soon as possible. That'll be that.
Makes sense, thank you.
Okay, if we're done with that for now, let's go to Reliance Health. So at the last meeting we had, Reliance Health came and they made us a presentation, and they also sent an email to me yesterday, and I made hard copies for today. I think Brett had asked if we can have what it would look like if we had a $5,000, $10,000, and $15,000 proposal. One thing though, it's something that in this proposal, it looked like they wanted to do a 1 year and then maybe a 3 year, and then I don't know if we should do a yearly commitment. I don't mind doing a one-time only fee and get one of these 3 things, because we're not gonna we have $20,000 in now roughly. We're not gonna get that much per year. I think I saw a report that we're gonna be averaging somewhere between 3,500 and 4,000 in opioid money over the next 20 years, or 15 years. So if we say, okay, we're gonna give you 15,000 a year, and then we only get 3,000 in, then the town's gonna have to pay the balance, which we don't want. This is supposed to be a donation in kind that will do better, put the town in a better position when it comes to opioid funding, and we don't have many places that we can spend this money, but we can't spend it on town things. It has to be something related to opioid abuse, opioid recovery, and so on, prevention. So if you look at the 5, 10, and 15,000 per year fees, we got, again, 20,000. Which still would leave us some other money. There's been some suggestions about a billboard and things like that. It won't pull all the money, and we'll get another check next year for another 3,700 or so. But, I don't know what it is that you would like to have us do at this point. I don't mind spending the money because it's there to spend and we can't use it for anything else. I do like the fact that they're trying to make it, North Stonington, it's aimed at North Stonington residents. Brett, I think, had a comment about, does this, we need to talk to our first responders and make sure they would be on board with one of these options. So if we didn't want to decide this tonight, I could get a hold of, both the fire company and the ambulance and say, if you saw these three options, would you like to, does it make sense? Because it's requiring them to have meetings with the Reliance people. So is that how you want to explain it, Brett?
Yeah, that's my question on it. I like the tiers, but if our first responders aren't buying into it and aren't gonna meet with them on the regular basis, then maybe that money could be used to do something else. My other question was the 1-hour introduction to recovery supports for up to 25 high school students. What that really entails is that if one of our high school students are in recovery or their family members, that they meet with them to
I'm not
go
sure.
over the options. Because at first when I thought about it, I'm like, oh, is that like a educational session for students? But then it says up to 25 and it's a hour introduction to recovery support. So then when you look up there's the community educational forum for North Stonington residents, which I do like that. What if we're not using 25, if we're using 5? I'm just wondering, how that process, they see it working, that's all.
Actually, I thought it'd be easier than this to give money away, but, and I still haven't heard back from, Jen Mungio at Ledgelight, and I'm sure we could give money to Ledgelight also. She was gonna get me something in writing, but I think she's been up against it with a lot of things that are going on, so, I can reach back out to them also to see if, again, all the money doesn't have to go to Reliance, but if we gave a portion to them, a portion to Ledgelight, and there was an organization I called a while back, I think Stephanie Mastrani had recommended, I think it was Dela Cruz, Mrs. Dela Cruz was involved, and it was in Groton, but I never got a return. I can't remember if it was a phone call and email. I never got a return, to that ask. So, and then, I know that Pat Lewis had asked in the past about possibly doing a billboard on 184, where the only 2 billboards in town are there, Mystic Pizza near the Rotary. But I said the only thing about a billboard is you can never measure what success. So
Well, how much are Narcan kits?
they're not that expensive.
I don't,
We had asked the ambulance last year and they only spend about $300 a year on Narcan for, the replacement for the ambulance. and
Gotcha. So when you
redoc-
look at the 25, 50,
yeah.
so that's not a big,
It's not a big number.
So
No,
so we have 20,000 in there right now.
roughly, yep.
I'm in favor. I liked the fact that we had residents that worked for Reliance House. B, I like the fact that they responded and they were interested and they came to talk to us and present something. I'm in favor of the 5 or the 10,000. I think the 15 for us is a little bit overkill with what they're asking or what they're offering. Frankly, the 5,000 to start and for the first year and to see how it's received, with the caveat that we talk with the fire department and we make sure that they're on board. There's nothing in the 5,000 plan for the first year that I don't think would be helpful and beneficial. I do think that 50 Narcan kits for the community might be a bit much. I think they may end up sitting in your office like some of the COVID ones right now.
There are the expiration dates on them?
There are
Yeah,
expiration
good.
dates, yeah. So I personally am in favor of the 5 or the 10.
Well, if we did the 5, we could actually, if it worked out well, could do it again the next year,
Right,
or
exactly.
increase it to 10 the next year,
Yep.
because by that time we'll have 25,000 in.
Yep.
I agree, the 5 or 10, I would lean towards the 5. So I'd be comfortable making a motion for the 5,000 with, like Nicole mentioned, the caveat that the first responders, fire and ambulance
Mhm.
agree and buy into it.
And if
And
they,
then you could do the sign up after that, your meeting, so we don't have to drag it out longer. If they buy in, then we're good to go. So I'd make a motion based on their, input and buy-in to the
Yep.
program.
I'll second that.
okay, so first and a second, the only thing I would say about that, Brett, too, is if they don't buy in, maybe there's something else they can do. Take something out of the 10 or 15,000 line item and move it to the 5,000 if they can't. They're not gonna do the monthly meeting, so
Yeah.
just give me $5,000 worth of help here, so.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they meet with administration at the schools or
Yeah.
something to go over
I'm-
that kind of.
I'm really hoping that the fire department's on board. I think that they would be. What they're offering is, is only a benefit to what they come up against every single week, I'm sure.
And I think it kind of pivots off what they do. So they're here to save lives and protect us. And then this is to make sure there's some kind of recovery with those,
Yep.
those
Yeah.
people. So it'd be nice that, first responders buy in and then they understand that this is the recovery end of things.
Okay, so I'm gonna just start, after I talk to the, first responders. Tell Carrie that we'd start with the 5,000, see how the first year goes, possibly match it again in the second year, or increase it to 10, depending on how the program works. But it's gonna be a year to year. It's not, we can't commit to multiple years because we
I
don't have
agree.
enough money to do that.
I agree.
Okay.
A lot can change from year to
All
year.
right, so we have motions, all those in favor of committing to the 5,000 a year for Reliance Health, say aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
okay, thank you. Christine, you want to talk about the virtual net metering?
Okay, so, I did send you a copy of the Verigy contract. They did send it to us. But we didn't include it in the packet. I reached out to Brendan Carney, who is our rep that we work with at Titan Energy. They're the ones that we work with to get a better rate for our, electrical provider. And asked them if this, basically, does this conflict with what we're already doing through them? What do they know about it? Is it too good to be true? Tell me more. And so, it is not too good to be true. It truly does just put credits on our account. The incentives increase. We were approached because we were on the distressed municipality list. So that's why we were getting approached and not other neighboring towns. Because the incentives for the companies that are doing these projects increases when they work with a distressed municipality. We're no longer on that list, but we still have the benefits for 5 years. So I was told by Brendan that, because Brett had asked if there was an opportunity to work with other companies and find out what was available besides just going with Verigy. And Titan does do the same kind of thing. They can put out, basically a call for proposals for us. So we can see whether it may very well end up being Verigy, but whether Verigy or some other company is interested in, working with the town of North Stonington for this project. Again, it is not a solar project in North Stonington. It is just giving us credits on our energy bill, for whatever the period is. It seems like that 20 years is the standard time period for this. And basically developers need a municipality as a sponsor so that they can build these projects. So they have to have someone on board to, offset these credits in order for them to actually start the construction on their project. So I think at this point, if you guys are interested, we can have, Titan put out that call for proposals and then we can review them at a future meeting. Just to see what's out there. It's not necessarily committing to doing it, but that way you can take a look at what your options are.
Sure, why not? Yeah, because as you look through the contract, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's not filled in, so you wonder what gets filled in. So like, I wouldn't be comfortable approving this agreement based on no information really in the contract.
Agreed. So why don't we just, let Titan put out feelers for us, see what other programs are out there. Then we can bring those back to a meeting, weigh what makes most sense for the town. And then, the nice thing is it's there. And because we were on this, distress list, which we're again, as Christine mentioned, we're not. But they give us a 5-year grace period after you've been on it to still get benefits from being on it. So, if we can do something like this and it helps the town, why not? But let's get the best help we can. And this just happened to be the first person who approached us. It sounded great. But I think it was good to do some more research as Christine did and make sure we're going in the right direction.
And who is Titan again?
So Titan has a contract through CCM to work with municipalities to get, so basically they put together they do the legwork for us to get a better rate for our electric bill. So they put the call out, they get all the rates together, they put a cover sheet together, and Bob takes a look and figures out what length of time and which provider we're gonna go with. And that saves the town a lot of money over the length of the contract.
I'll, we have to motion, it,
No, we just table it for another meeting.
but we're gonna ask Titan to put out a request for proposals.
Okay, so we're all agreeing on that. That's great.
Yep.
Number 11, capital and 5-year capital plan. So we looked at this for the first time last meeting, and then I went to the Board of Finance meeting and told them that we only kind of looked at it the first time, and that turned out to be about a 45-minute to an hour discussion on capital. But that's fine. Not much we could add because we really haven't dug deep into it. So tonight's our second look at it, and we've had it now for a couple of weeks, and I know I've looked at it, and I hope we all have. And let's start the discussion on capital. I guess one thing that you had mentioned was is Nicole, that you wanted them put in order of importance, and I think Christine mentioned that they're on the sheet, correct? The blue sheet in order of importance, correct?
Yes, and it was on the request sheets
On the
from
sheets.
the individuals, and some areas only submitted one thing, so that's their top priority.
So when we look at the highway then, capital, and we see there's 4 items, that's the order of importance according to the highway department, correct?
For the top 3, yes, the one that's a repeating item, it's,
You have one of these?
No, I don't have any.
The underground fuel.
I have
sewer.
this, but it's not colored. This
the
is
color
same
doesn't
thing
mean
that
any,
you have.
yeah, the color doesn't mean anything. It was just to differentiate between the 2 columns.
You want my colored one?
I just wanted to make sure it wasn't something different.
No.
No, I'm good.
Yes, I print in color and I get yelled at by Christine.
All the
So,
time.
no, I completely, agree, no color. So you're saying, so we're looking at 24, 25 right now.
Yep,
So
so
those,
front end, the
those
loader
4
is number 1, the hook lift is number 2, and the plow truck is number 3. The underground fuel storage tank replacement, that needs to happen. So it's trying to save for that to happen
Yeah.
because we have to replace that in
Okay.
2030, I think, right?
all right, so that's 50,000 right off the top that has to happen.
Did the Board of Finance give you any direction in dollar value?
They did. I'm glad you asked. So they gave me direction of somewhere around $500,000 total capital.
That's what they're thinking.
What did we spend last year?
420-ish.
420. So they were thinking, they said, if you are asking us for a number right now, our number is 500,000 and we'd like to see what you come back to us with. There was a lot of discussion of pies and getting larger or not getting larger. But I think they want to see what your best plan, our best plan is for capital. And if there is a need to go above that 500,000, it needs to be firmly explained as to why.
Well, I mean, I could tell you, like, looking at this, it's scary.
Well, yeah, because the highway department's not going to get anything. I mean,
Does that include, so that 420, that includes our capital plan, but nothing that we would have reassessed as capital under our guidelines now? Like when we talk about like the mower and all that stuff, if we were pulling that out of our budget and adding it to our,
Right,
Yeah.
that doesn't include
is there a way to
anything.
get that number?
No.
So we can't go through what we spent last year and what would be considered capital under the new policy? Or new,
Do we have that many expenditures? We had the lawnmowers. Did the school do something? Did they have a lawnmower too?
yeah, they had a lawnmower.
Yeah, but they did that out of non-lapse.
Or non-lapsing? Okay. So I mean, we could do that and let's say that brought us to 450,000. And they don't want to count steep and we're not sure. I think I was talking to Greg Howard last week and we're pretty sure we're not going to get steep next year because we're in the long session. It's the second year of the long session, so it has to go to the next budget before steep comes out. So the one we got this year, they think would have normally have come out next year. So we probably won't get steep next year.
So this is a little daunting, right? Because already we know, just looking at the top three items for the highway, we're far over, what we're gonna be able to give, and that's not giving anybody else anything. So it would help me to go through and take a look at absolute halves. So Christine, when you mentioned that we've got to replace, like it's a given, we've got to replace the underground fuel storage, then, and if it's going to be a certain amount and it's gonna take us that many years, like that to me is a must-have. That's not I'd love a new
Right.
bucket loader. This has got to be done by code and this is how much we're gonna need.
What was the value of that? You know what Donnie said in 2030, what's the value? If we didn't have anybody put aside, what would it cost us to do that? It was quite a
Well-
big number, wasn't it?
It's a big number.
It's, right now I'm looking at 250,000.
Yeah, but you're only looking at 5 years.
Yeah.
And it depends if we replace with, if we do a one-to-one and do underground storage tanks again, or if we do an above-ground system, and there's a lot that goes into that. So we don't have an exact cost on it, but we do have, it's similar to the closing of the bulky waste.
Yeah.
We know it needs to get done. We don't know exactly how much it's gonna cost, but this one we have an actual timeline of 2030, this
Yeah,
needs
it's
to happen.
gotta happen.
Yeah. So you have that, you have the payment for the tanker truck, because that's a signed lease, so that's a given.
Yeah, so don't we just go through those and star those things that we know have to happen?
Right, so like the stuff that we said, hey, we want to put down for the fire department, their pickup truck or whatever one that we said we're gonna pay half now, half next year, we should go through and say, we're sticking to our original plan on that.
Yeah, so those things would be,
So let's go in the first section, Christine, why don't we go just what we think has to happen? So we know, we think that replacement of the storage tank,
the
has to
storage
happen.
tank has to happen,
Now, the dollar value doesn't technically have to be there, but
correct.
and we
this
could-
is the best case number.
Yep.
right?
we could change it to 30, we could
Right,
change it to
But
60,
the,
so, yeah.
but the thing is,
I will say we have put off buying the loader for the entire.
Let's get back to that though.
Okay, so we've been saving towards the bulky waste pile closure under transfer station, so if you use that
That's
system,
25,000.
that would need
So
to
now
stay.
to 75,000. That's
Um,
what you want to do, right? Kind of add it like that. Okay.
Yeah,
the generator upgrade for compactors. Do we have a write-up on that?
no, so this is with the new system. If the power goes out up there, then you can't do anything to compact the garbage, and the garbage will build up and build up. So it depends if you have a long outage, if there's a storm or something going on. So that's why the thought is to upgrade the generators up there.
And we have a generator now that will not run a compactor?
Correct.
and the 10,000, the 10,000 is saving up for the
Yes.
generator replacement.
Yes.
Okay,
So I'd like information on that from Highway of what generator's up there now and what kind of,
Okay, so we'll
Why
have
did-
highway come and answer that question. So just put a question mark on that
Yeah.
line for now. Okay.
Then if you go down to, in my opinion, the fire company turnout gear is a given because they have to
What
replace.
about selectmen? You skipped them.
I went down, none of those things are givens.
Okay.
So I skipped down to the turnout gear because they have to replace a certain number of sets every year. They have it on a replacement cycle. So that's why there's that 23,000 in for that. The tanker payment is a signed agreement.
That's the 69.
Yep, 69,970. We agreed to do half and half on the service truck, last year's budget. There was an agreement for the rescue truck refurb. I don't know if it was
We agreed at 75. I think they asked for 100, we lowered it to 75,
right.
but they got it this year as 200. So I think that we go back to last year's number, just use as a starting point.
Right, and then put it out 2 years.
And then
Yeah, I'm sorry. So you're suggesting, so we dedicated 75 this year. You're suggesting putting it down that from the 200 they're asking for 24, 25, putting that back down to 75?
Just for starting, because that's what we did last year to match last year.
Okay.
and
Not
those
saying it's gonna say we could go back up, it's just
Yeah.
to start at.
and those are the only things that you have made commitments to. I will say that you have to do the reval, the 2025 reval 15,000, because we have to do the reval in 2025 and we need that much more for what we think it's going to cost. And we did get a quote for that.
Did you say, don't we have to do the Hearst tools?
Well,
I thought they were
yes,
just,
but I didn't know if you wanted me to talk about that yet, because it's not something we had talked about last.
we didn't, but we're talking about things that have to happen.
Okay. So
Why do we have,
because our Hearst tools cannot be repaired anymore. If they break, that's it. And we need those for life-saving purposes. They had their annual inspection.
I don't know what that is.
I don't really know that
A
much.
Hearst?
Hearst tools are what they, it's like the jaws of life. Pull
Okay.
people out of cars that is,
Yeah.
yeah.
now I'd like a I'd like them to come and talk about those things specifically because I talked to some other, members of fire
Here,
company,
this-
not in North Stony.
You have that?
Yeah, and they talked about batteries versus air compressor ones and how batteries can still fail and there's a whole discussion on it. So we're switching the whole process. I think at least we should know, get the information from them.
So why don't we put a question mark next to that
Yeah.
one too?
I
Okay.
mean, they need to be replaced. It's just with what
And
specific,
do we have to replace them all at the same time?
well, they're all obsolete. And so if they break, then they have to be replaced.
There's more than one set, right? Is there different levels that we have, like two different levels of Hearst tools, like one is stronger than the other, or?
So the fire company sent me their inspection report, which I shared with you. So it's different specific tools. I don't know how many there are.
think
I
that's
want to
what
say
it's
it was like 5 or 6 different
Okay.
items. So
So if you look at like so if you look at their proposal here from Firematic, it says this tool is no longer being manufactured by Hearst. There are limited parts available for repair. I suggest you begin budgeting for replacement. Doesn't mean doesn't say we have to replace them this year. So I wouldn't,
when that says that, we're talking about 24, 25. So that's minimum 6 months, 6 months to
Right.
18 months from now.
Right.
So
and it just says limited parts are available for repair. But
Well, I think that's something that they can speak on, so, but like Christine says, we're not even talking about 12 to 18 months from now. That's over a year, so we're actually gonna gamble that we can get 2 more years out of this existing set.
Is that, like, if worse comes to worse and something happens to it, is that not something that we would need to just ask for mutual aid? And call a neighboring town and say, hey, listen, we got a situation, our jaws of life are broken.
Right.
Could you?
I think that's a good question.
and
Just-
also,
Just so we have a backup if something should happen. If we gamble on it and we don't fund it and something happens, I just want to make sure that we can explain that we have a backup.
and all these individually are under our town meeting rule. So if something were to break, it could be approved pretty quickly to
Oh,
replace,
like the undesignated?
undesignated.
Okay, okay. So I still have a question mark next to the.
Okay, I agree. Yep.
So Christine, you said the 25 reval, we need that 15.
yes.
But what is explain to me the 30
So
savings
We
there.
we do a full reval every 10 years
Okay.
and a partial reval in the interim 5.
Okay, so it's saving up for when we have to do a
Mhm.
full again.
Yep, so it was putting 25 a year away for that, and then an additional 25 in 2030.
Yeah. Would you consider that a must-have?
I would.
Right.
Because it's one of those things that if you kick it down, then it's just that much more
Yeah.
that you have to keep adding.
All right.
And we haven't had to put anything towards this for the last few budget cycles because we do have 71,000 in that account. So we didn't want to be overburdening the taxpayers since we had that amount sitting there. But now can I talk about the loader?
Yeah, hold on just one second. 70 plus 1,000.
Come up with about a little over $300.
Yeah, so we're at like 360,000 and change already with just the must-haves. So go ahead. Talk about the loader.
And
So,
Oh, just, sorry, to go back to the turnout again. So in their 5-year plan last year, in 24 and 25, they still had 21,000. So was there a known price increase that changed that? I know we're only talking about $2,000 each year, but
give me one second. So in the current budget, it's 23, so I think they just didn't update that from prior. We went up to 23 in fiscal year 23. Fiscal year 23 and 24 were both $23,000. It was 21 back in fiscal year 22.
so we upped it? Did we up it?
No, they told us it needed to go up.
Okay, because I see what was submitted in January of this year to us during the budget season. It shows 21.
Christine, is the
Okay.
turnout and the rescue gear in the same boat, or is it just the turnout gear that's kind of a must?
I think they are both musts.
Well, that's,
Let me go to their paperwork. Hold on.
And then also that rescue gear and what we had, so I'm just going off what they supplied to us in January of last year, or somebody, Christine, you sent it out. It's the capital docs. It was 11,000, then it went up to 22,000, but then year 24, 25, down to 13,000, 25, 26, 11,000, 11,000, 11,000.
all right, so maybe we can back
So
off
yeah, I
of
don't know
some of
why
the-
all of a sudden it went to 20, 20, 20. So yeah, I'd like to understand the backup on that.
Okay,
And I know that they don't have as many volunteers as they had. I mean, they're looking for more volunteers. So each person, when they come on board, gets their own set of,
so,
Mm.
okay. All right,
And it's a 10-year replacement cycle on the turnout gear.
all right. So talk to me about the 24 Volvo loader.
So
oh,
we,
you don't want to add the BOE stuff in here for us?
Well, I mean, on page 1, are we saying that the loader, the hook lift, and the plow truck are not must-haves?
But I guess what you're saying is nothing on BOE's a must-have. That's what you're telling me. Because it's,
So
when
Board-
the Board of Finance said we have 500,000 in capital, included the
Yeah.
Board.
On the Board of Ed, you're saying?
So the
Yes.
Board
I
of
would
Ed,
say the tunnel repair is,
repair is the
a
only
must.
thing.
so
What
I will
was
also say that is a complete, pull that at thin air number. So if that's a project that we really want to talk about, we need to get a number, and we also need to talk to the town building official about whether when we start making changes to that tunnel, if we then need to make everything 100% ADA compliant.
but which we can't really make that ADA compliant, right?
That's the conversation we have to have.
What is the used sports van?
So the school, the long story is they were having trouble last year getting drivers for the buses, for the bus company, besides the normal routes. So they ended up borrowing the senior center van to accommodate some of their travel.
And who drove them?
The athletic director.
I think there's a few people that got certified. I think Ellen was one and then somebody else.
As far as I was told, she was the only one that was
Okay.
driving it. So, so they have this need and they would like to have a van so that they can use it for sports travel and I think possibly for some other things as well. But that way they can use it. But they want to get one that's accessible and then it can be used for other things as well.
Yeah.
So
That's-
on that, I understand the need and
I do
I guess
too,
it
I
would
just
save
don't-
on transportation costs over the busing situation. But I'd like to get also a handle on how much our senior center van is used and if there's a way to share and whether that means we have to buy a new one for them both to use or how the replacement of the senior one works. Can they get the old one if we have to replace it in a few years or something like that? But getting a handle on how much Teresa uses that senior van and because ultimately it's the same taxpayer's dollar, so.
So can I ask, and I understand, and I definitely want to see if there's an opportunity to share. But I don't unfortunately see that as a must-have, like cannot function without it kind of a thing. But can I just
Oh.
ask a question about the tunnel? So we are already having students walk back and forth, right, to go to shop.
And also elementary school,
Yeah, the elementary.
they go to the library.
So is there anything structurally wrong that we're using it unsafely right now?
Not unsafely, but some of the stairs that they've, put caution tape on have been broken up, so they stay to one side of the stairway.
They have to be like re-tipped, I think, with stairs and stuff like that. But I thought they had someone look at it and gave some numbers. You're just saying
From my conversations with them, no.
Okay,
so I agree. I do think with the use of it, it's something that we really need to focus on, but we also need real numbers.
so I'm gonna star it as something that is kind of like a must-have for safety.
Yeah, because our
concern.
residents use it too when they're
Yeah.
crossing.
Yeah,
When I have a conversation too with our building inspector, have him look at it with me and say, if this proposal came across your desk, what would you tell me? Like, can we do it? We can't do it? What has to be fixed? What has to become compliant?
And I wonder if there's any state money for that because it's going under a state road.
that's a good question.
This thing, because it's under a state road and it's not ADA compliant, I think that would be first on their list, right?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, they were gonna put in a new crosswalk, right?
Yeah, they were going to abandon it and put in a new
Which
crosswalk.
isn't safe on Route
Oh
Two
my
with
God,
kids.
it's
So
not.
maybe
So, I think
there's some kind of argument there that we can get Heather, Greg, and DOT to really look at and say, okay, well, we were gonna put this money into that, and we can, who knows? Worth a ask.
It may be elevator, not, we don't have enough room for a ramp, but it could be an elevator on each side, up and down.
Right?
I mean, that's what, it has to be ADA compliant.
Yeah,
compatible.
Right, so
for-
listening to the school, Board of Ed, I remember Troy saying that was one reason for the van as well.
Yeah.
Was to be able to bring, people across the street that couldn't use the tunnel.
I'm hoping that everybody used the tunnel on Sunday night, because there's cars, it looked like
So
Schaefer,
listen, I
it looked like
parked-
Gillette Stadium in
I
here.
parked out here and there were people running across the road. It scared the heck out of me. All right, so I think that I starred the 15,000, definitely needing to clarify dollars. And then would love to find out if there's anything available from the state.
And
Um,
I totally, in my book, crossed off the interactive boards
So
because
I
I believe that is a Board of Ed
do.
educational.
Correct.
expense.
That was something that we had talked about before. I mean, we just have to look at 24, 25 right now, and that they have slotted for in 25, 26, but I don't want any surprises. I do think that we need to clarify that the way I understood capital, I didn't think that was
Right.
gonna
And I think
qualify.
in my mind, if we're not something that we entertain because of what it is, then we let them, because if it's something they need, then they need to plan for it. So I'd hate to wait till next year and say, well, we saw that was in your plan for this year,
Yeah,
but we're
well,
not
that's why I think
on
we need to
board
have the
yet.
conversation sooner rather
Okay,
than
so on those two items, I'm gonna get a hold of the building inspector on the first item, and we're gonna get better information. Second item is, we're gonna talk about possibly sharing a van with the board, or with the senior center and see how that might look, correct? Okay. All right, back to page one.
So with the front end loader, it's replacing a 2003. This is a piece of equipment that gets shifted. So it's one of the things that we have two of. We have one at the transfer station, one at the highway garage. So the older one goes to the transfer station, newer one goes to the highway garage, so that we get more life out of it. We had said when I first started that we were going to save for 4 years and buy it in the fourth year. That didn't happen. Then in the last 2 years, we were gonna save for it and buy it, and we, for the last 2, and didn't buy it. So me not being somebody that works at the highway, but after talking with them, of these 3 things, that needs to be done.
Also, it's, so we are getting rid of one of them that they estimate at $20,000.
Yes.
Correct.
And is there a reason that we stick with Volvo and not look at other brands?
You'd have to ask them.
Because I would think if we're looking at loaders, and I understand people, some have brand preferences, we should look at cost of same horsepower, same warranties, same everything when we can. And if that reduces some of that cost, then we should look at other brands. But those are things that I wish we did break it out over multiple years. And that's, if that is a
sounds like we
must-have,
tried. It just kept getting cut.
and if that's a must-have and we have to put that in this year, and I guess we can find out more on that. Those other items, I think we need to break out over multiple years. Especially that, the 10-wheel plow truck, I'd like more of an explanation on why.
Yes, I
You-
think we should have Alan come and explain.
Yeah, because
that
that's
to us.
310,000, and I'd like,
So our next
Understand.
meeting is, on the 14th of November, so maybe we can have Alan come to that.
The other thing that I wanted to highlight is that the ambulance has asked for a new van style ambulance to be included in the budget. This would replace the 2008 Ford. Over the last year, they've put $15,000 worth of repairs into it. The DOT inspection on the fuel tank said that it needed to be replaced in a timely manner, as well as more front end work for another $7,000. They would like to get a van style because those are easier to find and less expensive. But they also are looking they didn't give me a dollar value, so it's not on the sheet, but they want to do a new chassis into the new ambulance in 28-29. So I just want to highlight that because it's not on the plan, but needs to be on the plan, but I don't have a number. So that's why it's not included. But they said that they should be able to keep that ambulance the H101 going with that replacement at that point. At that point, it will be 10 years old. So we would have, if this all happened, we would have one van style and one box style for the ambulance to alternate between. That's as much information as I have, but I wanted to share it with you.
is this something that we want to get out and look at again, like we did for some things last go around?
Like, what do you mean?
Like, go look at the ambulance, have them explain why this one has to go, why we need the van style, and
Take a road trip?
yeah, and like actually get our eyes on the vehicles and a little explanation. Maybe that's better than just having them come in here, present, look at pictures. If one day we do it all in one day.
Actually, we
go to
could
the
do it,
transfer station.
we could do ambulance and fire on the same day
Yeah.
without a problem, so.
I think that's beneficial.
That
when
is a good
you
idea.
hear it and see it in their facility, how they utilize.
He talks about the advantages of the van versus the box.
Right.
And why the van could go to some calls, but not all. The box would go to the more serious calls. We have to have a paramedic on board because you need more room to do what you need to do. So, as you would probably know, correct, Nicole. So I know American uses all vans. But, and there's advantages to the box, but it's much more expensive. So that's why he tried to have one van and one box rather than two boxes. But I don't mind setting up, field trip up there we did a couple of years ago. I think that was beneficial when we did that. And I could invite Board of Finance members if they want to join us. Okay, but why don't we have Alan come in, because he might be able to explain it more here, and then we can go to the fire station and
Yeah.
set something up with Logan and Charlie. Okay.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful, because then when you look at the highway capital and the dump truck replace number 4 next year, or 25, 26 for 250, those are things I like to, if we can break out over multiple years, try to do.
I don't mind going up there either. We can have Alan come here, but then we can go up there. So,
Yeah, I would love some additional clarification before we go on out from them, before we go out. You know, Brett, the only problem with, looking at those $250,000 items in the future and breaking that out, literally with what we've just talked about, we're at 528,000 right now. So there's not a whole heck of a lot of money left to start saving for things.
Yeah. But part of that is because we have to do a loader in one shot.
Yeah, so
that
the
kind of-
conversation might have to be with Board of Finance that we've pushed things off too far. And that this might have to be the year that we bite the bullet and get some stuff
Right.
purchased and get out of the hole, and then move to a saving each year for when it's due.
But I still think we have to be mindful of the taxpayer. I'd hate to see any tax increase going into next year. And I'd hate it to be because we did plan out well the past.
Yeah, well, I
10
mean,
years,
it might
but
mean
is
that we have to tighten up other
On other
things in the
stuff.
operational budget to,
And any information from the state on our undesignated money coming back from the,
so I met with Greg on Friday. He's got a meeting with Kathy Austin and DAS. Is he coming up? Was it next couple of weeks, I think? And he's going to bat for us and Legend. Legend's owed 9 million, we're owed 2 million. And we're in both those, we've signed up, our projects are done. Stonington is owed money too, but their project isn't done. So they haven't they haven't got everything signed off on yet, like we have.
when did Ledger do theirs?
Pretty much the same as this, but they've got a lot of short-term debt they're paying, which all our short-term debt's paid, so their number's getting bigger. So, Greg he thinks that between him and Kathy Austin, they can get with TAS and if nothing else, get towns like us who've been done and waiting, move to the front of the line, so. That's good news, I guess.
In other selectmen's capital, I know the new IT guy is new, but has he had a chance to look at any of the plans and?
I told him that we put in the 14,000 that we've done in the past. He's looking at what Jim's plan has been, and there's supposed to be some updates to the server this year, so it's a matter of what needs to be done with that. But generally speaking, it's 5 computers that get replaced, and that needs to be done every year, because otherwise we'll get backed up on which computers.
So do we have a written plan of which computers is there a way to get a copy of that? Back to us? That'd be great.
so the pickleball courts for 30, how is
We can
Is
take
that a
that out
brand
now,
new
right?
construction?
We can take that out. It
Okay,
was
cool.
if this plan didn't
This
happen.
didn't go through.
Look, we're already saving money.
I think we can take that out and probably land acquisition, we can discuss that later, but that has $75,000 in it.
I mean, again, when we're in a situation of must-haves, that doesn't
Right.
even, as much as I'm in favor, it doesn't even rank, unfortunately, to me.
It's gonna get $2,500 more in it too, because of the Master Tucket agreement.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And it's something that if, like I said last year, if there was land that we needed to acquire, we'd have to go to a town meeting because we'd have to go anyways. If you look at East Lyme or Old Lyme, I forgot which one it was, they just approved a purchase for 250,000 because their admin finance director went through the process that if they didn't buy the land and the developer came in to buy the land, the amount of houses they were looking to put there, even after all the property taxes were paid, they would have still been negative about $750,000 based on education costs. Because it's 0.8 students per single family home or something, is the average on it.
So I don't know how much more we can do tonight.
But I've got some marching orders on, working with the building inspector, setting up some field trips, have Alan come to the next meeting, so, I'll work on that over the next week.
Yeah.
See if I can get everything ready for the 14th.
One more question, the improvements, what is exactly,
Which
that's
one?
for Stonington Education Center improvements, but do we have a list of the improvements we're looking to do?
No, but I will tell you one thing, you've asked about this room.
Yeah.
And, Quinn's already got an idea of getting rid of all the mics and wires and using lapel microphones that you can either put on the desk or wear on your lapel. His father does weddings and he's gonna bring in 6 of them, and just so we can try them out, see how they work and do a kind of a, not at a meeting, but off meeting. But it's, if we did that, we'd be able to get rid of all this. And then we would start me dressing this place. That's not a need to have, it'd be a nice to
Right.
have, right? It would be nice to get all these wires that make this look a little more presentable.
And those funds could also be used for whatever is gonna happen on the outside as well.
We need to get 2 lights for the new brick wall. We haven't got those yet, you know, where the new wall that was built.
That's,
2
it's already happened.
It is, we're all set on that. Perfect, never mind.
And I saw electricians out here today working on the lights over here.
We're trying to get the lights fixed before the
In
election.
time for the,
So did
election.
we replace the ones?
No, they think it was just fixing the ones on the building, and then they think they can have that done shortly. And they're hoping to get the stand-up lights in the front parking lot done by the election day.
Okay.
So we'll still need the portable light we're using in this parking lot.
Yeah.
But we think all the other lights will light up the side of the building.
But those are the type of funds that this improvements would come out of.
Right.
Okay, so do you want to just have us move that, we'll just keep moving this from meeting to meeting until we get zeroed in on it? Okay.
I feel better I like the approach that we had and at least knowing must-haves.
So I'll tell you, all Board of Finance members weren't on board with the $500,000. It was a mixed bag. So I'm thinking that,
They wanted less.
no, more. Some thought we should be putting more in capital and some thought we should, let's start at 500 and go from there. So they weren't all on the same page. So I'm thinking that there probably is room to come in if we can justify it with a higher number than 500,000. I don't think they have an appetite for 1 million, but maybe in that 750 range, they might be able to work on something. It's just a guess at this point.
Okay.
Okay, so we're ready to move off capital?
Yep.
Perfect. Let's go to old business, the demolition of the 1-story wing. I'm waiting for Bob Jefferson to get back to me with the information I sent him on what I would like to see our proposal. I hope to hear from him by tomorrow. If not, I'll call him. What I came up with so far, of course, you will have to approve it and so will the town, would be to use the balance of the $1 million that we had set aside, and not all, but some of the ARPA funds that are set aside, but not all. That's my plan. I'm just hoping that the attorney agrees with me, and then I gotta have to ask the attorney, how do I best unveil that to Best Tech, that this is what we're offering, and anything above this will go to arbitration. So I think that, we look at what's left in the million and what's left in ARPA funds combined, it's somewhere around 195,000-ish, those 2 buckets of money. And I think I'm somewhere in the 165 range right now. But again, it's going back and forth with the Bob Gerasini. And I don't know if Best Tech will buy into that or not, but
How much would that be shorting of what they think?
about 120. We are getting estimates on what that wall would have cost, because we would have had to build that anyway. I looked at Best Tech, what they charged me for the wall, and it was around $55,000. I've got, Alan's working with Ryan Stanley to get me a price on a footing and a wall, what that would cost for somebody else to bid it. So just have an idea. So when the project was all said and done, and there was plenty of money left in the million, we would have put roughly 55 to 60,000 towards building that wall.
Talk about the brick, like the brick. part of
Right,
it.
'cause that was never part of their proposal. Even if they filled their holes and it was a structurally sound wall and they filled the openings, the window openings, we still would have had the ugly wall on the outside, would have been structurally sound. I'm sure the town would want us to fix that and make it look as nice as it does today. It's very nice looking.
Did they give us a quote for the 55,000?
Who?
First, before doing it, Best.
Oh, no, that's all part of the argument why we don't want to pay them in full because they didn't, we asked for 4 months for a change order that we never received, so.
Yep. That's where I think we really need to hang our hat right there.
And the attorney agrees at that point, so. And I think that an arbitrator would probably agree with that also.
Yep.
Not to mention the money we put in on our own for engineering and water and so on, so. We're getting closer. I'll be glad when that is done, one way or the other. Sure, go ahead, Bill.
I'm confused. Why are we giving them more money?
Why, so when the project stopped and the project stopped and it wasn't moving and we went out for an RFP and we got 2 bids for 250,000 each roughly to build that wall. All Best Tech did was say they were going to fill the openings. And we told them, well, listen, you can't just fill the openings because now the wall's not structurally sound. You have to do something else. You have to build us a wall, which they agreed to do. For 4 months, I asked them for a change order. I started my first change order request was, I think, March 15th, and we finally got one on, I think it was July 24th. Yeah,
And we allowed them to proceed with doing what they wanted to do?
well, I didn't,
No.
they proceeded to do the project. And I asked on multiple occasions for the change order and it wasn't forthcoming. So that's the main, so we finally got a final bill from them that was well more than what we feel it should have been. So Bob Gervasini, who's our clerk of the works, we retained him to work as a third party on this. And we've already knocked about 50,000 off their bill because they had duplication of invoices. So we're still looking at a number of around 298. And I've only got about 107,000 left in the $1 million we set aside for the project.
Just because we allotted money doesn't mean we should give it to them.
Oh, I agree, but I think that I don't want to go to an arbitrator and get killed because we didn't work with them. We actually got a finished project in the finished brick wall, which I've seen quotes at around 55,000. The town would have had to build that wall anyway.
Didn't we pay a clerk of works to oversee this property?
We
This
did.
project,
We did.
and we allowed it to go, we allowed it to go haywire.
Oh, it didn't go haywire.
Well, it did. The invoices I saw, it shows that we paid them in full. The last check.
Paid 689 plus we paid the change order that they did give us for 75,000 for the oil that was in the ground. So we made those, we're paid in full as far as what was
Yeah.
contracted. And then we could go back and say, okay, we don't owe you any more, but I don't know where that will get
So
us.
they have a lawsuit against the town or whatever,
They could,
or they don't, yeah, they're arguing against.
yes.
And what's the resolution in the current contract? What is it, how does it state that discrepancies like that'll be handled?
If we can come to an agreement, it goes to an arbitrator out of New London. An arbitrator was named in the contract.
I just don't know why we didn't stop work.
Well, we could have stopped
So we
work, but,
had- So we had,
what would that have done is stop work?
Yeah.
And then we have a half building down, and now what do we do?
you know,
Then it's gonna cost us an arm and a leg to come in and finish the project. And it wasn't like we didn't expect that we are gonna get a change order, and they knew how much money we had to work with. So I didn't expect to get the bill we got for
Right.
it.
But
this amount of money you have to work with that doesn't matter. Then we showed them our car, well, they know what our cars were, so, but just because we have the money doesn't mean we allow the project to go on and.
So I
we'll take care of the
understand
bill when
that.
it gets-
I understand that from your point of view. I don't know if an operator is gonna feel the same way you do, because you're a vested interest. You're a member of the town.
I don't know how much we should be arguing this back and forth. and especially if it does go to a suit, we should be careful what we're saying and sides of
There's no pending
reasoning.
litigation on it.
There could be.
There could be. Well, that doesn't keep something from becoming public information. Has to be pending.
Right, for us to go into executive session, but it doesn't, we could not say whatever we choose not to say. Then,
Okay, thank you. Anyway, so that's where we are with that. The vacancies and appointments. So we have we're gonna have one new vacancy. Read that if you'd like. Done reading the cover letter, I'll be glad that we can discuss. Whatever attaches a job description and the current contract. On the top of the current contract, I have this year and last year's values for the salary. I think this is something we should get on as soon as possible. What I'd like to do is call a special Board of Selectmen meeting as soon as we can. I don't have a date and time in here, but this is kind of what I think we need to do sooner instead of later. So we know our next meeting is the 14th. I don't want to wait till then, since we have a final day of the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So I think it's behooves us to work on maybe something by the end of this week or very beginning of next week. I know I think Friday morning, we could do an in-person meeting on Friday morning. This is what my suggested agenda would be. And I guess we can have discussion. We're not talking about any individual here, just a position.
yeah, I agree. I think we need to discuss the position as a whole compared to what the job description is, before we put it out again, obviously. So I agree, like this,
So point number 3, where we search an interview committee, change if any to existing job description, compensation, additional comments. Does that cover what you want to do?
yeah,
I
so-
mean, I agree with the agenda. What are we thinking? I would feel comfortable getting something on the books ASAP, like you said. You're thinking Friday?
I'm not going to be available Thursday, and tomorrow I got to go to COG. So Friday, I could do something Friday morning. I could do something Monday morning. I could do something Monday afternoon.
I can do something,
I mean, this will be a regular meeting open to the public, probably in person. But it's just a one-item meeting to discuss this position and how to fill it.
I'm available from 8 until probably 10. I could push it past 10 if I had to.
on Friday,
Yeah.
we can do Friday morning.
Would you say that we need an hour and a half? An hour, I think
think
enough?
that if we do our
Hour.
homework beforehand, right, and we take a look at what you've given us and we come with ideas, then I think we could probably do it in an hour. Do you think, Brett?
Yeah, I do.
So can I use this agenda, just fill in the date and timing
Yeah.
and have it posted?
I have no problem with
So the
that.
date would be Friday, the 27th.
Yeah.
Is that
How
correct?
early can you guys?
I can do it whenever I'm there at 7. So
My
anytime.
10 o'clock is via Zoom, so I'm fine.
Are
I
we
could
doing
do
in person?
9.
Yes, in person we'll do it
Or-
here because the tax collector will be at the other, so. So Friday, that's the 27th, correct?
Yeah. Do you want to do 9 in person?
I can if you can.
I can do earlier if it's easier. for you.
No, that's all right. I can do 9.
Okay. And 3 is good with the title, the way you have it, because we never officially changed that title as a board.
That's what it, no, I know, but that's what it was asked, suggested, and we didn't change it, but we can, that's what can happen in
So
number
we-
3.
yeah,
The old title was,
administrator.
Administrative
finance
Officer, correct.
Are we meeting at the town hall
No, I think we just meet here,
here?
because the tax collector's in that office, so we can't use that back office, and I can't have a town meeting in my office. An open meeting, rather. Yeah, we can do that.
All right, so this Friday at 9 here.
What's the date?
The 27th.
27th at 9 AM. I expected a little more reaction, I gotta say. I'll just,
I will cry later.
Are we announcing?
it's public now. I will announce that.
Did you announce it today? Okay,
No.
I was like, I don't think you announced it.
Oh, so I didn't, but I will. So we're gonna have a meeting to discuss, to filling the, it's gonna be a new opening in our town for the, Director of Administration and Finance. We'll be moving on to another position with her last day being the Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
What's that?
There's only one position,
the one
Director of Administration and Finance, or
Or the administrator and finance officer?
This one was enough.
Was there a second? Did I miss something? You said second position?
there's just one position. Well, there's one position that carries 2 titles, Administration and Finance, so. All right, so that's that. ARPA fund update, there's nothing new to report. Plan of Conservation Development, we had a meeting last night, and there was some direction given to the multiple groups that have not put their information forward. So Juliet's part of this is done. We're just waiting for EDC, POE, WPCA, fire company ambulance.
At what point do we not just say, we've got to get it done?
No, we're close. We've already said that now. So they all have, they all get emails and hard copies yesterday.
Yeah, Board of Ed submitted their stuff today.
And Highway submitted their stuff yesterday, so. So we may end up asking for a small extension, which is fine, because you can do it as long as they know you're working on it. We could send them the rough draft, which we have, we also, minus some maps. When Jim left, it didn't help matters at all, because we kind of get left high and dry with some of the maps that he was supposed to do, so. And Quentin is not that he can't do it, but he's not in tune to what these maps are, so he's going through a little bit of training on it. We have someone from the COG trying to help us out getting these maps done in time for the POCD.
When is it due? December 12th?
December 12th it's due, but we're gonna ask for an extension. And I think that we're gonna have planning and zoning do their hearing on it in January. Because they've got, planning and zoning has 2 very full meetings coming up in both November and December.
Is Priscilla on P&Z? Priscilla
AKA Patty,
Is
yeah.
that-
P&Z.
Got a big email.
And I answered their questions and,
Priscilla is Pat?
yes.
Oh. Okay, thank you.
So that's that. Any public comment? No. Public comment? John, public comment? Anybody online? No one's been online all night. Oh, is that somebody I know? Is that somebody I know? Yeah, that's what I figured. One glass of wine, go to YouTube. Okay. So, no public comment. Next meeting is what we have now. We're gonna do a special meeting on Friday at 9, followed by a regular meeting on November 14th. And do I have a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
The time is 7:57.
You're having